been an incredibly messy week for Cradle of Filth, with multiple abrupt departures from the band in the middle of their tour. Now, what started as one abrupt departure, followed by a second one, and then escalated into a series of serious allegations against the band, its management, and frontman Dani Filth himself. For days now, fans have only heard one side of the story, a story of exploitation, abuse, and an absolutely wild contract that's made the rounds online. But now, Dani Filth has broken his silence and issued his own lengthy, detailed statement. And he's not holding anything back. So he's addressing the contract, the money, the behavior on tour, and now making some serious allegations of his own. So let's break down exactly how we got here, and then we'll get to what Dani Filth actually had to say. The whole thing kicked off last weekend when keyboardist and vocalist Zoe Marie Federoff suddenly left the band right in the middle of a tour. A few days later, her husband, Guitarist Marek Ashok Šmerda, announced that he would also be leaving the band as soon as their Latin American tour dates were finished. Now, Ashok's exit statement was anything but friendly. He cited low pay, high stress, and what he called years of unprofessional behavior from people above us. That was on August 26th. On that very same day, Zoe Federoff released a second, much more detailed statement that really threw gasoline on the fire. She accused Dani Filth and the band's management, the Oracle management, which is run by Des Fafara of Devil Driver, and his wife, of creating a, quote, threatening and abusive atmosphere. She claimed that non-permanent members of the band were exploited for very low wages. Now, to back this up in her view, she posted images of a contract that she and her husband were given by the band. They refused to sign it, and after it was posted online, it was widely criticized by fans and other musicians for its terms. The same day all of this came out, Dani Filth fired Ashok, claiming he was trying to illegally defame and derail the band. At the time, Filth only said that the Cradle of Filth camp would share our side of these unfortunate events in due course. And now, that time has come. A short time ago, Dani Filth released his official response, and it addresses every single point of contention, from the contract to the tour drama. So here is his full statement that he just released a short time ago. He writes, "Greetings everyone, I think it's time to reveal my side of the story. Now that so many accusations have been levied at the band, our management, and me personally, I apologize for the slight tardiness of this statement. It was important to approach this in a level-headed manner after reflection. The timing was also difficult, as the band is currently touring South America with arduous travel days, long flights, and shows. I don't believe in tit-for-tat slander, but I do want to clarify the following points. Firstly, the contract in question. This is not a contract that was ever expected to be signed as is, but was the initial framework to build from. I will expand on this further, but I do see that one of the main reasons we are having this situation is because of miscommunication regarding the nature of the contract and what was expected of the parties receiving it. No one in the band is prohibited from working with other groups and substituting their income. We currently schedule tours for about 40% of the year, with the rest of the year being available for other commitments. Now, many of my bandmates have other projects, as can be seen on their own social media pages. We do not, in capital letters, prohibit our musicians from work commitments with other bands. We only ask to plan sufficiently, weaving schedules together as far in advance as the situation allows. I'm sad to see that Zoe is picking facts to fit an agenda, but I'm willing to share the full story, including the description of events, of the first 3 days of the South American tour, to show a more balanced picture so that people can make their judgments based on the wider context. During those first days, heavy drinking, escalating arguments, and repeated public disputes created a very disruptive atmosphere for everyone involved. I personally witnessed heated exchanges between Zoe and Ashok that included both verbal and physical abuse, culminating in a public display in front of the hotel and fans who had gathered for last-minute autographs in Sao Paulo. This was not an isolated incident, but part of a pattern of abusive behavior that strained the entire team. While I understand touring is stressful and exhausting, I cannot excuse the effect it had on the rest of us. The decision to continue the tour without them was not taken lightly, but it was necessary for the health of the band and crew. Also, no one knew anything about her pregnancy, and if she was pregnant, why was she drinking at all? She even contacted management on several occasions asking for help in stopping drinking, with lengthy text messages proving this. It's important to me that the artists around me feel like their inputs are seen and valued. I do think, for the most part in this case, as some of the remaining members have been with me for over 10 years, we are, however, always looking to improve, so I will take what is happening now as an opportunity to have a better dialogue in the band, crafting a more elaborate contract that makes everyone feel comfortable and protected in the future. Addressing the management. Des and Anastasia of the Oracle management have been nothing short of wonderful, caring, and understanding, relinquishing commissions to make tours work and working closely with the band to deliver us some amazing opportunities, and thinking above and outside the proverbial box. Having failed to fit in the band, Zoe is now attempting to slander and lie about us as much as possible to garner dislike for me and our management. Isn't it easy to accuse without proof in this day and age when everybody is such a well-versed online critic? I can only begin to imagine what else I will be accused of as she seeks to destroy this band and business. Des is very honest, transparent, and truthful, and doesn't get paid until I allow the accountant to pay him. This means everything goes through my accountant, and then said accountant sifts through all the financial numbers to see what can and cannot be afforded. Des never handles any of the money coming in. Des called out for Zoe's firing, to which Ashok spoke out for her and went after the royal family of heavy metal, and we won't have anybody speaking about Ozzy's wife like this. Now, to elaborate further as promised. Firstly, the contract in question. Yes, it was a shitty contract, but one that was put forward to help further the dialogue with two members that had been causing a lot of drama behind the scenes. Started from a harmless and well-reasoned email from Zoe asking for a pay raise for the band, which was approved within days without any pushback. Zoe's communication continued to get ruder and to escalate to a more threatening depth for seemingly no reason, especially considering her original request was approved from the get-go. The tensions were growing, and at the point of sending the contract, we had already received resignations from both Ashok and Zoe. So we decided not to spend any budget on a tailored contract, which in retrospect was a mistake as it further escalated the situation. Unfortunately, we sent out an old but never before used contract that was too brash, not as elaborate as it deserves to be, and one that doesn't capture the full picture of the actuality of being in this band. It wasn't done with malicious intent, but was intended as a start to negotiations, with none of us realizing that it had been sitting in a folder but not used for a reason. I rashly forwarded asking the band to sign. At the time of sending it, we all, management, myself, and our attorney, had barely any time to look at the contract that was going out, giving it a surface glance, and just got it out to the band. I hadn't had a full conversation with the lawyer or Des about what the contract's initial intention was, negotiate or just sign and go. This was an oversight on my part, and it has been clarified later. Of course, Zoe would show you the worst, and it saddens me that context of what I thought was our dialogue was warped to fit an agenda and made public. I am talking internally with the rest of the band now to draw up a contract that will best serve them and the business. And yes, unfortunately, a band is a business, and when we witness a person stirring trouble, drinking heavily, not writing, threatening to sue the band over use of their image, then something obviously needed to be done. Zoe and Ashok had already tendered their resignations despite me agreeing to a pay rise amid additional financial protection, so I was in absolutely no hurry to waste money with our lawyer drafting up a contract that was already destined to be pulled apart anyway. To say that they only earn X amount a year will certainly raise a few eyebrows. However, aside from their wages, they're also privy to publishing. They just received an advance who the management gave up commissions on, and I actually put money towards out of my share. Publishing royalties, PRS, or the equivalent in every country, bonuses for touring if we do well, endorsements, and not to mention food every day in bunks, double room hotels when available on the road. On Zoe's departure 3 days into the 26-day tour, and having already promised me and management that they would see out the tour in a professional manner, Zoe and Ashok proceeded to drink and argue between themselves for the first 3 days. Having already argued all afternoon in front of everyone backstage, Ashok wanted to stay back and have a few drinks after the show, arguing with Zoe to the contrary. Later, he was with fans and members of our crew when Zoe stormed downstairs at the hotel to drag him back to the room, telling people to f*** off along the way and causing a scene. There are many witnesses to this, including that of her throwing things at him. Wow. Now, in Zoe's defense, I do account her outburst on the fact that we had barely 11 hours of sleep in 4 days. But again, I don't think this is a worthy excuse. No one else behaved in this manner. We were too tired for a start. The next morning, which was a very early lobby call, Ashok was clearly still drunk, and again, the two of them argued heavily at the airport, resulting in Zoe deciding to leave the tour and book a flight back to Arizona, citing Ashok's alcoholism and partying by text. Now, Ashok remained as a courtesy to the band, and as testified by several people, stipulated that his marriage was not working out. That, however, is none of my business. What is my business, however, is keeping the tour moving, and with this run costing nearly $200,000 in just expenses and wages alone, the thought of flying out new people and booking them visas, hotels, and flights was obviously a little overwhelming. I quite selfishly thought that without the constant drama that we witnessed on a daily basis, Ashok would concede to enjoy the rest of the tour with us. However, that was not to be the case, as one minute he was crying on people's shoulders, the next morning pushing out a statement about his departure from the band, amid other revelations, having spoken to his wife on the phone. Naturally, due to these fresh insights, he was fired on the spot. Which brings me to fat shaming. Never has this been undertaken. Dez never said anything about people being fat or being too heavy. All he said to Annabelle, our previous keyboardist, is, "Please watch your health, you have touring and videos coming up," to which she sent a picture of herself eating a selection of buns, which I found funny at the time. Of course, any manager would express these sentiments. Dez never spoke to Sarah about anything within the band. She was not in the band. However, he did speak to her when she went online speaking ill of me, and that's exactly what a good manager does. I expect my manager to have the artist back at all times. Incidentally, Sarah actually emailed me to say how nice it was to meet me at a show a few weeks ago and asked if I'd still be interested in covering an 80s pop song we both loved. Touring itself is a very expensive business now, but there's something you can read about anywhere online. I, as many of my colleagues in the music industry, have been pretty much an alcoholic by definition at one or two stages in my career, and this is why I can observe her erratic patterns of behavior, and also why I have been teetotal from the booze for nigh on 3 years now. Anywho, I could prattle on forever. I just wanted to clear up a few things and then be out of your hair. Thank you to all the many bands, fans, and fellow musicians who have proffered their support in this matter. You guys are much appreciated indeed. Onward and upward, as they say. See you all on the road. Now, to cap it off, the band also shared a screenshot of a private text message sent from Ashok to management, which reads, "Dez Fafara, you are a sick, evil person trained by the sickest person in the music industry, Sharon Osbourne, the criminal who should be whipped to death. Your karma will catch you. Do not ever talk to my wife this way, ever again." So you have a strong statement there from Dani Filth, which tells a very different story in this situation. Dani Filth claiming that there has been alcohol abuse on this tour that might have influenced this situation, the arguments between the two of them. According to him, he says other people witnessed this on the tour, and he really says he's been sober for multiple years. He admits the contract didn't look good and it wasn't the contract they could have provided, but he says that essentially they were already on bad terms. So a lot to really look into there in that situation. But as promised, Dani Filth now in full detail telling his side of the story. And so now with both sides telling their stories, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this down in the comments below. As always, that's your latest update here from Rockfeed. Be sure to subscribe with notifications on for the latest news and updates.